Hello, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and if you're struggling with your slice backhand, here are a few tips that are really going to help you. You know, when you watch Roger Federer or any pro player, they make it look so easy. It almost looks like they're not even using any regimented or structured technique. They're just pulling their racket back and slicing through. But when you try it, sometimes it just doesn't work. So the first tip that's going to help you if you're struggling to hit a slice backhand is don't use a continental grip. Now I know that goes against every single instructional video you'll ever find on the internet when it comes to, and even any lesson you take in person as to what grip you should use. But the problem with the continental grip for players who struggle using it is it cuts under the ball way too much. So then it gets a very weak ball. Now I know you watch the best players in the world and they'll get their racket square against the back of the ball with a continental, as you should. But if you're struggling, what I'd actually recommend you do is turn your grip a little farther than a continental. So you are probably used to knowing that the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad, those 2 points, have to go on bevel or panel number 2. So if you're right-handed, panel number 2 is right here. Well, and if you're a lefty, it's this panel. What you can do is turn those 2 spots to a little farther. So think of it on the corner between panels 2 and panel 1. By turning your grip a little farther than you normally do, all of a sudden your racket face becomes much more square against the back of the ball, especially on a higher ball. I even know for myself, I use a continental grip on my slice backhand just because of my level of play. But on a higher ball, I know that I like to turn the grip a little farther because that really helps me square up the racket against the back of the ball. Just that one tip can make all the difference in the world when it comes to squaring up the racket and actually getting a penetrating slice backhand. The second tip that I think is really going to help you. When you turn on your slice, I don't want you to have a bent arm. One of the most common problems with a slice backhand is actually developing tennis elbow, because the player has a bent arm and then it straightens. And just that repetitive motion can hurt the elbow. Rather than have the elbow bent, have it extended. Now, I'm not saying that you should have it straight and locked where it could hurt, but just have it softly extended so that the main movement comes from the shoulder rather than from the elbow, like your Michael Jacket in the Beat It video or dealing cards, right? You don't want that. You want the arm to be more moving just from the shoulder. So with the grip changing a little farther, and then just thinking of it as a shoulder movement, man, oh man, I can tell you already it's going to make a world of difference. The third tip, I want you to assist the racket with the other hand to contact. Remember, we're trying to get the racket square against the back of the ball, or nearly square. The racket, like many players think that the racket's supposed to be wide open when you hit a slice. I mean, it's supposed to be that way if you want to hit a lob over someone's head, but if you're trying to hit a penetrating slice into the court, the racket's going to be less than 10 degrees open, and the higher the contact, the more square it's going to be. Well, what I want you to do is actually use your other hand to help you assist the racket in its squareness against the back of the ball. What I mean by that is when you change your grip a little farther than you might normally, when you turn with your arm a little more extended than you normally do, I want you to, from a high position, I want you to feel like you're going down to contact, which is just in front of your front foot. I want you to feel as if you are going down to contact with both hands. This is what I call hit a 1.5-hander. So rather than thinking of it as just a one-hander, almost feel like you are assisting, and just before contact, you let go and actually truly hit it with one hand. When I watch players who cut under the ball way too much, it's typically because, one, their grip's not far enough, two, their elbow is bent, but they let go way too early with this other hand, and then they come through like this. So by having this hand on the racket, you can help feel the squareness against the back of the ball, and then you'll absolutely love the fact that, yes, you get slice, like you'll get backspin, but the ball's not going to pop up because you're going to get the racket much more square. And then the last thing, and I've got a pool noodle to show this, the last thing is the path of the racket. So it's very common that players, let's say like you're my target, right? That's why the tube is going towards you. It's very common that players swing from sideline to sideline. where they don't swing toward their target, but as a right-hander, they swing from left to right. What I want you to do is turn your shoulders a little bit more than you normally do, and then move the racket as if you are going along a pool noodle towards your target. And you're actually going to stay completely sideways. You can see my arms are parallel to that pool noodle. Rather than opening up and then facing your opponent, turn your shoulders a little more than you normally do. I've got my slightly farther grip. I've got my extended arm. I'm going to assist to the contact with my other hand. And then just before contact, I'm going to let go. But my goal is that through contact, I keep my racket over the pool noodle. And I can do that by then separating my hands, which keeps my body sideways. And the benefit to that is then I track my racket out toward my target, rather than pulling across, getting side spin, and the ball curls. So change your grip a little farther than you normally do, get your arm more extended, assist with the other hand to contact, and then stay sideways by moving your arms apart. And don't face your target when you're done. You'll actually be able to look under your racket when you're done at your opponent. You use those tips. There is no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.